Welcome to Human Tech, a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Guthrie.
And I want to talk today about a headless, armless, limbless cat. That's a robot.
A headless cat robot.
Mm-hmm. Now, you actually were the person who introduced me to this.
Yes, because...
Where did you find it?
You know, that's a great question. Somehow it came probably through some, feed I get on Facebook. Are you still on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
Kind of.
I've actually had a little bit of resurgence. Right when people were starting to not use Facebook, I went to law school.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better for colleges than Facebook because everyone's on there. You can easily add everyone in your class, and then you have meeting groups and messages, and it worked out really, really nicely.
But you've been out of law school for a little bit. Do you still use it now?
Year or three. Yeah. I've part of one thing I did was I also had like 17 chat applications.
Yeah.
And I needed to tone that down.
Yeah.
A lot. So there were a couple people. So you had a couple people on like GChat, Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
And I talked to them. I was like, pick something else. Like I'm not going to use this anymore.
All right. I know I'm going off topic, but what did you end up on?
Well, a couple of my friends said just use Facebook Messenger. So I do now use Facebook Messenger fairly frequently. And it is by and far still the easiest way to schedule an event between me and all my friends. Like if I want to have like a house party.
That's what you did?
Yeah, I mean, there's almost no other substitute for it.
Well, anyway, I lately I've not been enamored with Facebook, but because the feeds I get are half of them have nothing to do with me, and of the half that might have something to do with me, 2/3 of them or 3/4 of them don't have anything to do with my friends. But anyway, this I believe came through somehow on my Facebook feed, and it is. We should tell people what it is and how it's pronounced and all of that, right? It's or I don't know how it's pronounced, how it's spelled. It's called Qoobo, Qoobo. Is that right?
Yes. And I actually really, really enjoy the typography that they have, where it's all circles and the Q and the B kind of extend. It's very cool. Can I give the opening paragraph written by The Verge's Damie Lee?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's so good.
So this article I read is from The Verge, as you just mentioned.
Yeah. And
who's the author?
Damie Lee.
Damie Lee. Go ahead. What's the opening paragraph to describe Qoobo?
Do you enjoy the sensation of petting a cat or dog, but hate the unconditional love and the fact that they have heads and limbs? Japanese company Yukai Engineering has unveiled the solution to this classic conundrum with Qoobo, a soft, round cushion with a robotic tail that reacts to strokes just as a loving pet would. But yes, I thought the hate the unconditional love and the fact that they have heads and limbs.
This is just bizarre. So this thing looks like a.
It's a pillow. It's a round pillow.
It's a round pillow.
With
it's
a
not
tail.
I mean, it's not cat shape. It's a round pillow. It's more round than it is long. Right?
Yeah, but.
It's made, by the way, by...
I mean, it's a circle. It's a pillow.
It's a pillow. It's a circle.
It kind of looks like a cat. If a cat... sometimes when a cat, curls in a ball or sits like a bread loaf, I think it's perhaps...
Anyway, it's a circle. It's a fluffy circle pillow with a tail. And there's no head. And there's no arms or legs. It's just the circle with the tail. And... it reacts to you when you stroke it, right?
Yes. If you yeah.
So it comes in two colors.
You can pat it. You can stroke it.
Husky gray and French brown. And the reaction is just the tail wagging. Is this correct?
Yeah, but it's like a pet. Like tail wags are not just like back and forth. Like this, it'll wag softly. It'll curl the tail. It'll wag more vigorously.
Based on what you did, or just
yeah,
or
in
just
the same
randomly?
way that if you reach over and you touch a dog, the tail will kind of just like a little bit back and forth.
Yeah,
And if you rub the dog, it'll kind of get a little more froofy. Like it seems to be a bit more pet-like, and it's not just like touch it and it does something. It's not just like an I'm trying to think of some like kid's toy, right, where you pull the string and the thing like it has a little more communication to it. It seems a little more animal-like, a little more lifelike in its tail communication.
It's supposedly for young people living alone or children.
Who
or the
isn't
elderly.
it for?
Me. It is not for me.
I think it's perfect for you.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes.
I mean, I understand the soft, cushy thing. In fact, I don't even know if I should admit this, but I guess this is a moment of truth here. I was on a trip traveling somewhere, probably overseas, and you were not with me, Guthrie. And I was, as I often get, just nervous about traveling overseas. I just get this thing about airplanes.
This is perfect for you.
And I was so...
Oh my God.
I needed to just relax, and I was doing... I was doing deep breathing, and I was trying meditation, and I'm at the airport, and the plane is late, and it's very crowded, and I don't know, all my triggers were being triggered, and I actually went into an airport store and bought it was like a little travel pillow that was very, very soft and fluffy, just so that I could stroke the soft and fluffy part of it. And it was a little bit too big. I would have liked it smaller, but I should just go get a piece of cloth from the fabric store.
No, get this machine.
I just sat there on the plane and pet my little soft pillow, and it definitely helped me relax. I mean, we know, first of all, we should probably just mention, and we might have mentioned it before, but we probably did when we did some of our stuff on oxytocin. We had Paul Zak on. Remember, we had Paul Zak on, and kind of the king of oxytocin. And but just to remind people, when you stroke something that's soft, or when you hug a person, or stroke a cat or a dog, or even a soft pillow that you buy in the airport store, it releases oxytocin in your system. And oxytocin is a chemical that does a number of things, and one of the things it does is makes you relax. And so that's why it's one of the main reasons why having a pet is so helpful, and why people bring therapy dogs and therapy cats into nursing homes and so on, so that people can, pet the cat or the dog, and just by doing that, you release the oxytocin, and it'll just make you relax. So that's what's going on with Qoobo. Now, I don't know. I'm sure the tail wagging that would have a, that would start to be connected with classical conditioning, I would think. Because you pet it's more than just the pillow that I was using, right? Because in this case, the thing responds. And that should have some kind of reaction. There's a visual cue that probably makes, you probably become more attached to the Qoobo than you do to the fluffy pillow, I would say.
Oh, yeah, look. Like, the only thing they need to do is develop a purr mechanism, and then I'll probably buy one.
Yeah, they do need a purr mechanism because you need and it's not even so much for the sound as for the
Well,
haptic.
that's what the tail does.
What?
The tail.
Does the tail have a haptic vibration?
No, but you don't need it. It brushes. The fact that it's moving is enough.
Then why do you want it to purr?
That would be better, but it communicates with you. So there's social things going on.
Because of the tail?
Yeah.
But why not make it... I mean, because there are other social robots. There are other pet robots that have, like, heads and limbs. Why make it headless and limbless? Just because it's easier?
Yeah, sure.
And then because if you have those other parts, you'd expect them to do things like move. Mm-hmm. It's much easier if all you have to do is have the tail move.
It's also better for sleeping.
Why?
It's more comfortable. If you had like a head and limbs and stuff, then they would get in the way if you're trying to lie on it.
Do you think this is going to take off?
Yes! 1,000 times yes. By the way, I'm looking at this company's website. These guys do all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm very high on these guys.
This is Yukai Engineering?
Yukai Engineering of Tokyo.
Yeah.
5 minutes by foot from Shinjuku Yonmai Station, which I probably just slaughtered.
You probably slaughtered that.
The Marunouchi line. So I'm looking at their headquarters. Yeah.
I've never been to Japan and I've always wanted to go, so they can invite us.
They are an interesting company. Let me give you just some of their products that came before this, okay?
Okay.
First, there's the Coco Natch.
What's that?
It's a small... Think of, the little Twitter bird, the blue bird?
Yeah.
If the Twitter bird for Halloween went as Casper the Ghost.
I have no idea what that means.
It's like a tiny little white bird that's kind of circular shaped in like a plump fashion.
And what does it do? It's
a palm-sized social robot that tells you when you get an email or tweet.
Now that I want.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. That's product one. Another product, the Nikomimi.
Yeah.
It's a brainwave-powered fashion accessory that portrays the user's emotions.
Oh, I know that. This is the same
big
company.
Ears.
It has big ears, and the ears move.
Yeah, they twitch when you're
turn,
happy.
Like I'm listening, or
in the same way that a cat
or a dog.
When a cat is really having like a good pet, like their ears might twitch.
Or a dog when it's trying to listen to you.
Sure.
Or right.
Yeah.
You're a cat person, and I'm a dog person. So
sure.
That's why you keep making cat comparisons, and I keep making dog comparisons. Okay, I know that.
They have
product.
a bunch of hardware stuff. So they have the Kanoshi, which is a physical computing toolkit for iPhone and iPad. They have D-Lab Hook, it connects physical products to a digital display. Team Lab Hanger, an interactive hanger that connects physical products to a digital display. So it's like when someone picks up the hanger, something happens on the display behind it. It's kind of like like a physical world and a digital space interaction.
It seems like they're experimenting.
Pappy, which is it's a parent and baby cam. That's
okay.
I'm not exactly sure what it does. It appears to be like a crib or like the thing that goes above the crib. Oh, I think I get it now. So, what are the things above the crib?
Like mobiles?
Yeah. It's a series of mobiles that the parent, and then it's got a camera in it. And so the parent has an app on their smartphone. And so the kid is in their crib with the mobile above it. Mm-hmm. And the parent presses like the yellow little like monkey on in the smartphone app, and then that does something on the mobile, and the kid like reacts to it. So you can play with your kid even while you're at the office.
No, that's ridiculous. The kid's not going to be home alone.
I don't know. Why not?
No, you're not going to have a baby home alone in their bed. I mean, there's going to be some grown-up responsible. Although I could have probably had a lot of fun with.
Okay, I guess this is maybe working parents in the household. I don't know. So like maybe like you're downstairs and I don't know. It's kind of an interesting something. They have Pepper's Magic Remote, which I don't even know what that is. A space bristlebot, a micro robotics kit for building a toothbrush type moving robot.
Wow.
iDoll, which is a palm-sized robot that basically dances. It makes silly little jokes. It's just kind of like a little animatronic doll robot, kind of like almost like an advanced action figure. Boko, the family robot that brings your loved ones closer together. So you send a voice or text message using the Boko app on your smartphone, and the Boko robot at home will notify your family that it's got a message. So they can play the voice message on the robot, or let Boko read out your text message. Then you can record a reply and send it back. It has sensors, so it detects vibrations. Yeah. And then, of course, Qoobo, or Qoobo. I don't know how to pronounce it. So.
Do we know how much Qoobo costs?
Yes, it's cheap.
Is it available now, or is it like coming soon?
There's not a whole lot to it. It's a pillow with a.
Is it available now? That's my question.
I will endeavor to find out.
Well.
Oh no! It'll launch next June.
That's a long time. From when we're recording this podcast.
It'll be about $100.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
Well, it's more than the pillow I bought at the store.
Yes, I would maybe wait for Gen 2 or 3 of this.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Better software, better battery.
What do you think about the future of so-called social robots, of which this would be one, right?
I've always thought the future was very bright.
And do you think yeah.
There's one more, because I also want to talk about Google's camera.
Okay, go ahead.
So, well, you can ask your question, and then we'll do that.
Well, I was just going to ask about whether, so there's this concept of a social robot, and the social robot is a robot whose main function is to, well, it's a good question. What is the definition of a social robot? But basically, it's supposed to, its main function is interaction with the human, not in a working way, So the lawn mowing robot, the vacuum cleaner robot, those are not social robots in my definition. But I think this is kind of interesting. I guess my question to you was, what are these categories? Are they going to stick, or are they going to change as we start to get used to interacting with, with robots? With essentially, we're interacting with AI. Sometimes you got AI, and sometimes it's visible and it takes on a form, right? And sometimes it doesn't. And so then you've got this class of things that take on a form that might be useful and help you do tasks, might load your dishwasher or vacuum your rug. Now, do you think we're going to have this general category of robot that helps you out and also interacts with you, or do you think we're going to keep it separated like this, where you have these pet robots and these social robots that are for emotional support and not for doing your household or work tasks? Are we going to keep these distinctions?
I think it's going to be a little bit like the smartphone, where it starts out with one purpose, and then, now it's got a camera, and then it's got this thing, and now it's got an accelerometer, and it's got, and it just kind of starts gobbling up more tasks.
Because, there's that whole other philosophy, and I don't know if it has a name. I thought it had a name. It'll probably come to me. Let's just think back about machines in general, and let's think back about motors. So I think maybe we even talked about it on a podcast, or maybe we haven't, and maybe you don't know about this, but back in the early 1900s, the Sears and Roebuck company, that was not a store, but was a mail order catalog.
Yes.
And you can find the images of this. This was real. They had, I think the year was something like maybe in 1919, 1920, something. There was a universal motor. You would buy what was called a universal motor with attachments. And the attachments would do things like vacuum, mix a cake batter, be a fan. Like, those individual appliances did not exist. What you did was you bought the motor and then you put on attachments. And initially that's what, when the motor was invented, which is a great thing that could take electricity and power other things, right? But the idea was that you would have one motor. You'd buy a motor, and then you would just buy the attachments. Now, obviously, we didn't end up going that way. We ended up putting motors into other things. So you have your fan and your vacuum cleaner and, whatever, all the things we have, hair dryer. We have so many things, cake mixer, so many things in our lives that have motors, we don't even think about it. And those all became individual appliances. And when computers first came out, personal computers first came out, the idea was you would have a computer, and whatever it was you wanted to do that required computing power, you would do it with your one computer. And of course, that didn't happen either. We started now putting computers into everything else. There's a computer in your car, and there's a computer in your toaster, and there's a computer in your cell phone, and right? So we kind of go back and forth between this idea of taking the technology that's there and making a universal device, right? Like right now, I think our cell phones, which, it's funny that we call them cell phones when most of the time you're not making a phone call with it, right? Our cell phones are still kind of universal devices. And we're starting to maybe go the appliance route. I'm not sure. So we kind of move back and forth between wanting to do everything with one tool versus wanting a lot of tools that just do one little thing. So I'm and every time we come up against a new technology, we go through this question without even realizing, I think, that we're going through the question, which is, do we want this to be a one thing, or do we want to put this technology into everything? So I don't know if we have the answer to that yet, even with our phones. And we certainly don't have the answer to that with robots. I mean, there are a lot of robots, especially industrial robots, that just do one thing. Although now, even with those, we're starting to see like some of the Tesla robots in the Tesla car factory that do multiple things or can be reprogrammed, right? To do more than one thing. So I don't know which way we're going to go. And I think with social robots, it's interesting because I think it would bother them if their social robot, if they're, for instance, their Qoobo, then did something totally different. You know, if you think of Qoobo as a cat, if it's a pet, then you don't expect it to also vacuum your rug, right? What are your thoughts about this, Guthrie?
Yeah, so I think, bunch of thoughts here. First, I mean, there's been reprogrammable. Oh my God, easy for you to say. Reprogrammable robots for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you think even such dumb machines as like CNC routers, or you give it a hunk of metal, and it can turn that metal into any shape based on the parameters that you give it.
Okay.
Right. So you can, in the same way that a metalsmith could create multiple things, this can, create multiple things. And of course the Tesla robots, and not just Tesla. I mean, that was a big deal, but that was, I mean, the video that we like to show in our keynotes, those are like from 2014. I mean,
right.
It's going to be 4 years since those were developed now. And I'm sure they're much more sophisticated, and a lot more companies are probably using even more sophisticated ones than those. But once you the big jump is going to be once someone, and I'm sure honestly it's still probably Tesla, because they've been working really hard on not creating their new Model 3 cars, but creating the manufacturing process to make the Model 3 cars. Like, they've been putting a lot of work into rediscovering reinventing how a manufacturing process should work. And the next big step is AI in industrial robotic applications, by the way. That allows for a much larger range of features and options. So that once you start using AI algorithms on assembly robots in conjunction with schematics, they'll be able to do a very wide variety of tasks that won't require complete programming every time.
They'll be programming themselves, essentially.
They won't be. Well, they'll be using various algorithms to figure out the most efficient way. It'll be given a task of, hey, you need to weld these 400 things today, and it'll come up with the best, over the course of time, the best way to go about completing this task, right? So if you think of it in a car sense, okay, we need to affix all the doors and install all the windows. So in the past, you'd have to design a specific code path that the robot would follow. Okay, it moves in this direction, and then it's a 25-degree tilt,
over here
and then
does this. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas once you have those kind of algorithms, it can kind of take that and figure that out kind of as it goes.
Yeah.
So then it's a lot easier. You can give it a lot more tasks because it's a lot more flexible. in what it does, and you don't have to kind of change it every time. So yeah, that's that part right there. I think you're going to see a lot more. I mean, it all just depends on the level of communication that software can provide. And I think nonverbal pets is a really great place to start. So that's why I think this robot is on the right path.
Now, when you say nonverbal pets, are you talking about like they don't respond to commands, or they don't make noise?
Cats and dogs
don't
don't speak English.
Okay.
So you don't need to know the nuances of the human language.
But although they do respond to
they respond to
what
communication.
Would be called prosodic elements in your voice.
Yes, and that is something that would be easy to do, to get to a level of kind of like cat-like or dog-like kind of response, stimulus response. So you go, "Hey, Qoobo," and it recognizes its name. It recognizes the tone of voice, and then the software can figure out, okay, it wants to the human wants to interact. Go interact with human, It can tell when the humans. So it kind of just follows that general thing. I've been around a lot of cats or a lot of dogs. You're sitting next to the animal on the couch. You just reach out and like touch the animal, and the cat will start purring, and the dog will kind of like wag its tail happily. Just when you respond to it, it responds to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that's what in the article they called unconditional love. And that I feel it would be pretty easy to do a really, really accurate job of creating. And once we have that, I mean, then, I recently saw a friend's grandmother who lives in an independent living. Do you know the difference between independent living and assisted living?
I do, and in fact, because I read Atul Gawande's book, I know even what the ideal is versus the reality of it. But yes, go ahead.
It's actually kind of an interesting, it was an interesting complex. It's actually like a whole campus, and there's a whole independent living, which is basically you have an apartment to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's full of other people who are living independently, ... But, like, every night and every morning, you put a little, there's a little, like a do not disturb on your door that you put on, take off, so that, they can easily see that you're okay. If you need, the stove fixed, there's staff around. So it's like, but it's not, it's not assisted living. It's not like someone is coming in and checking in on you every day. Like, you have a huge amount of independence, but there is that extra level of care if you need it. But and then if, let's just say, God forbid that you like fall, right, and you hurt your hip, and you need a couple of months of rehab. Across the street is the assisted living. So you can just go across the street, be in assisted living, get the help you need, and then once you're back on your feet, then you can move back over. So you can kind of put the residents kind of where they need to be.
Although in practice it doesn't always work as well.
I'm not getting into the whole thing about.
I know the concept.
Everyone go read the book. And then you can all complain about how.
And which book is this? This is Atul Gawande's On Being Mortal. By the way, it's a great book. But anyway, why were you bringing this up?
Well, there's no reason. It's, for a lot of places do not allow pets, and for really good reason. They're both for the safety of the residents, but also for the humanity of the pets. Mm-hmm. You don't want a patient with dementia having to remember to feed the dog or the cat or keep the windows closed. I mean, there's just like there's a certain level of care that can't.
The animal needs.
Yes. On the flip side, you have these people who are often very isolated, are often, very much want connection and companionship.
Or maybe just miss having a pet.
Well, yeah, for whatever reason, and just can't have it. The person in particular I was talking to, she had been in independent care. She was over 90, and she'd been in independent living for like 15, 16, 18 years now. And the tough truth is that when she came in, she had a lot of friends, and then a lot of her friends went over to assist to.
Yeah, she's outliving everyone.
That's just kind of how it is. And these places would be they're crying out for devices like this, devices that can provide happiness and connection and an outlet, and they can take care, to be a companion. That's I think that is very important. So, yeah. So I think once they get to a certain level where they can be, pillows that comfort, kids with autism, like this would be good. Pillows that purr and stuff, so that if you have PTSD, it can help you settle down. I think there's a lot of good, even let's just, because this is how all of it works. It starts in the clinical, and then it works its way towards the mainstream. So just staying in the clinical realm, there are so many clinical applications for this. And once it gets to a point where you can interact with it and it can interact with you, I don't think it takes a whole lot of interaction to get as good as a cat. Cats don't have facial muscles that can smile. They basically, their only forms of communication are brushing up on you, purring, and tail wagging.
They can meow.
Yes, and meowing. Yes, and meowing. But so that is not a very high bar to get to. To have a robot that you can pet, and it purrs, and it can meow, and it can wag its tail, and it can brush up against you. And once you've gotten to that step, then I think you open up a whole range. Because then, if you're 90, you can get one of these, and it can be not just be like a therapy pillow, it can really be a friend, as the same way a cat would be a friend. And that's the, as you like to say, that's the mental model crack. That's the crack. Where now, these old people, these old people are falling in love with these animatronic cat pillows. But like, I would never, there's no substitute for a real animal. But that's the crack. And then of course, the dam bursts.
I am very curious about, and would love to, maybe somebody's doing research on this, or maybe we should, but what are the, like, again, back to my original question, is it enough to just have the body and the tail? What are the...
Yeah. And that's again, I think that's nice. Have you ever, on a cold night, had your favorite warm blanket over you while you were like watching TV?
I have some warm blankets. I don't know that I have a favorite warm blanket, although I do have a soft, fuzzy warm blanket.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Cat-like.
It's not even that. It's a cold night. You're watching TV.
Yeah.
You get a nice blanket and you just curl up in it, and it's warm and it's pleasant. In the same way that a warm shower is pleasant. It's just it's a nice, friendly feeling. I think this, without the purring, I think this is a nice, kind of friendly, fun little thing. You know, this is maybe to the level of a plant. You know, people really like having plants around. They name their plants. They talk to them as they water them. People like having plants, but the plants don't do a whole lot. I kind of feel like this is about we've hit plant level with these you know little pets. They're nice to have around. They're soft, they're pleasant, but I don't think anyone is going to be like, well, you know, this is like better than having a cat. This is like
except for me, because I'm not a cat lover, so it would be better than
yeah, okay, so fair enough. But I think we're still on that very basic level, and for that basic level, not having a head or limbs is fine. You know, it's a glorified pillow. The next step is making the pillow purr, so you can lie on it and it purrs. Step above that is having a warming unit inside, so that it can warm itself and feel alive. And then step above that is perhaps movement, where it can,
reacting to your voice.
Yes. Well, yeah. So there's a lot of room for growth, but you know, there's a really good argument to be made, and you know, look, I love animals. I have cats. I sleep with cats every night. The cats are great. There's a very good argument to be made that having the level of domesticated pets that we in the Western world have is a very bad thing. They are horrible for the environment between the cat litter and all the meat. They are carnivorous, so you have to have large sources of meat, which has huge amounts of greenhouse gases. I believe I remember reading a statistic that the majority, you know, a lot of cats have higher CO2 footprints than like human beings in some of the poorest, least CO2 intensive countries on Earth, which doesn't necessarily surprise me. They're very expensive. The you know, that they do throw up everywhere, and a friend told me, you either have pets or you have nice things. You get to pick one of the two. Like, it's just, you know, like, they're just gonna, whatever you have, they'll end up destroying, and getting like cat fur all over the place and stuff. So in the long run, you know, us humans like having little. Did you ever see Blade Runner?
No, I didn't. You know, there's the updated Blade Runner just came out. Do you know that?
Yeah.
No, an interesting thing about Blade Runner that I didn't realize was that the original version, which came out in when? The
1986, 1984.
He because it wasn't critically acclaimed when it came out, and so who's the director? I can't remember. He kept adjusting. He kept editing, and so in 2007 he finally stopped editing the thing, and the later versions and the latest version, the 2007 version, were apparently much improved, and so then it became kind of this classic important film. And
the director's cut was definitely a big deal.
and it described, I guess, have you seen it?
Yes, multiple times. It's not,
and it described,
it's a little too 80s for me, but it certainly is
2019. The new Blade Runner that just came out this week describes the world in 2049.
Yeah, both of them horribly wrong. I'm sure. I
don't know.
No. It says 2019, and LA is like this sprawling metropolis of 4 or 5 billion people, and there are these huge pyramids everywhere.
Okay,
and
right.
the society has devolved, and there's this weird English Chinese mismatch. I mean, they were off by 100 years. But one of the scenes in Blade Runner that's very interesting is, where does where does biology stop and pet begin? You know, if you think about dogs, if you look at a little wiener dog, we humans have basically modified the genetics through thousands of years of selective breeding to create this little
You're talking
pet.
about a dachshund.
Yeah, to create this little pet dog that has that we created for our fancy. It has short little stumpy legs. It has all kinds of like horrible hip problems. and,
Watch
like,
out. There's a lot of people that love their dachshunds.
No, that's the exact point. They took large, ferocious wolves and they created beautiful, fun, loving, caring pets out of them. And it's probably better to have a dachshund as a pet than a wolf. Like that's just the truth. Like we have biologically enhanced and created this strange being for our own enjoyment. And I mean, and part of the enjoyment is that the dog enjoys it too. So we've created a living thing that loves being a short, weird, stumpy creature that hangs out with humans. That's what we've done. And we did it through thousands of years of genetic selective breeding. And so in Blade Runner, there's a guy who basically modifies DNA to create weird pets, are not quite the right term, but like weird genetic combination of things. You know? So instead of having, you know, because when we think of having like a robot dog, we of course think of having like hydraulic fluid and like, you know, like little gyros and stuff. But there's nothing to say that we couldn't use why not just use biology to create a softer pet that purrs louder and eats grass, and you know what I'm saying? Like our pets are imperfect, but it's not like the pets that we have are like the way nature intended. Like we have specifically through selective breeding genetically engineered these pets to our personal preference, and we didn't have a problem with that. And so why not try and create...
This is an interesting question.
Yeah, I know. So why not try and create a more a better pet for humanity? And there's a lot of arguments that can be made that the current pets that we have that are living and have huge CO2 carbon footprints are non-ideal. And what we should really have is pets that in fact are not alive, quote unquote. That would give us just as much comfort, if not more. They don't die, and they don't create huge amounts of CO2 gases.
But now, are you saying those are the ones that would have any biology in them, or you're saying that would be all robotic?
I mean, in the future, maybe, you know, though that's, you know, maybe not. The point is that we have this idea that, like, pets are, like, this, like, natural... something like the way God created, and cats at least are a little bit like that, but definitely not dogs. Yeah. And so this idea that I wouldn't have I could never have like a robotic pet, like even if it was very advanced, because like it's not like a real thing. Yeah. That it's like made by humans. I'm like, what do you call your tiny little messed up pug that whose face has been genetically engineered to be bashed in so it's cuter? So like it can barely breathe, like, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say is that there's might be a little bit of hypocrisy, and we should maybe look beyond, just look at the reality of what we humans have created as pets, and that once people realize that you could create a, you know, if you want to call it a robot, fine. But like a fuzzy, soft thing that basically does everything that a cat will do.
Well, and I think you bring up another really
for
interesting
our own
point.
Comfort. Like that is their purpose.
Yeah. Well, so the other interesting point is that you're right. We do right now tend to think about the future of this kind of engineering. You know, we think about there's the there's the machine side and then there's the biological side,
Right.
and that those are not connected. But actually, I mean, those are two different things. But actually, they aren't two different things, and we're already blending them, and we don't even. I mean, it's happening so slowly, I guess, that it perhaps hasn't even hit us that we're doing it. I mean, how many people on the planet now have a percentage of their body parts are not biological?
I mean,
They have knees and hips
Yeah.
and hearts and
yeah. Look at corn. Corn is a great example. I'm not even talking about genetically modified corn. I'm just talking about organic, Whole Foods quality corn. Corn naturally is about the size of a pen. It's a tiny little grain that is the size. The corn cob is naturally, if you go look at the old pictures of corn, like from the sketches from back in the days, it's
From
like the size of a
ago.
pen. And now they're like these like mini baseball bat size things.
Through genetic engineering, but it's still a biological. It's still biological. I mean, what I'm saying is we have these definitions of when something is alive and when it's not alive.
Right, and that was the Blade Runner thing, where he was creating these weird hybrids of things that could talk and could move and were made with DNA, because he was playing with DNA. So, but they certainly weren't natural by any stretch of the imagination, even though they were using biological parts.
And so right now we tend to think of it that way. We may have to change our definition of what's alive and what's not alive. At some point, we're probably sooner than we think, we're going to be facing that. And we get really stuck on definitions, and they become these mental models, right, that we can't shake. I mean, I'll give you a really simple, silly example. I'm old enough that when I was in school as a young child, there were animals, and then there were plants. And that's all there was. And so fungi were plants. They were in the plant kingdom. I think now they're in their own group.
They are.
And
along
I
with
still,
a couple other things.
Yeah, and I still don't, to me, no. I learned there are animals, and animals have these characteristics, and there are plants, and plants have these characteristics, and there's not a third category. So I think that, and for younger people who grew up with the three categories, it's like, what the heck is the big deal? There's three categories.
I think there are more than three categories, but you keep talking. I'll make sure we're correct.
But I just think that as we move forward, these categories we're making, these definitions, what does it mean for something to be alive? I have it. Yes,
I have it now.
Go ahead. What?
So according to this horrible website I'm at,
yeah.
There are plants.
Yeah.
They are multicellular.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And kind of as a weird subsection, there are also autotrophs, which are organisms that make their own food, and that plants fall into that category. Then there are animals.
All right.
They are heterotrophs, right? So they have to eat other things.
Okay.
Those are two of the six kingdoms. Then there's arachnobacteria.
What the heck is that?
They're found in extreme environments such as hot boiling water and thermal vents under conditions with no oxygen or highly
They are their own category now?
Yes, because they don't have they're not plants and they're not animals.
To me they're animals. Keep going.
They're not animals though. They
are in my categorization scheme. All right, that's
they have different
three.
cells.
Well, yes, I understand. Bacteria are actually quite alien.
Hold on. Well, so that was...
That's 3.
Okay, so then there's eubacteria, Eubacteria. They're complex, single-celled. These are the regular bacteria everyone's familiar with. They're classified in their own kingdom because their chemical makeup is different.
Yeah.
Then there's fungi, mushrooms, mold, mildew. They're multicellular.
Okay.
But they're not, unlike plants, fungi cannot make their own food. So that's the difference. So plants make their own food, usually through photosynthesis. But fungi eat other organisms. So they can't really be plants. And then there are protists, which are slime molds and algae. They're also called the odds and the ends because they're kind of so different. They're all microscopic organisms that are not bacteria, not animals, not plants, and not fungi. They're unicellular. That's why they're not in the bacteria kingdoms. So they're unicellular, but they're not animals.
But these are just because of the definitions we made up.
Yes.
I mean, you could make up a definition, and by that definition, a rock would be alive.
Of course.
So it just depends on the definition. But so my point is that, we love to do these definitions, but then we change the definitions. And I think we're going to have to face changing some definitions as we move forward in terms of what's alive and what's not alive, what's human and what's not human, what's biologic and what's a machine. And I don't know what will come first. That will change the definitions, and then our feelings and our interactions and our expectations will change, or that whether our feelings and interactions and expectations will change, and then we'll change the definitions. So that's the interesting things to come.
Well, with CRISPR, everything is going to get ridiculous really fast.
Yeah.
Which CRISPR allows for the individual slicing of genes at a certain spot, so you can get
I know.
Yeah.
Just particular, I know. So it's an interesting age we're in, and we have managed to use up an entire hour discussing this.
I want to say one more thing quick.
What?
People should check out, and I wanted to talk about this, but obviously
we ran out of time. What?
So Google, in their I/O, announced another product.
Yeah.
That was called the Google Clip. And I sent you this video. $250. It's a hands-free camera with kind of AI software in the camera itself. So it's not sending data to the cloud. At least that's
what they say.
What they say. It's a really, really, really great idea. It's
an interesting idea.
It's brilliant. It's a new product category, and
it decides what to take pictures of.
So here's the thing. The whole idea is that GoPro kind of capitalized on this, where people were like, "Hey, like I want to record my life in certain ways, but I don't want to have to hold a camera every time I want to do it." So GoPro was like, "Hey, just like affix this to your helmet, and then you can kind of like do this cool stuff." Well. So what this does is, the best way I can describe it is a tiny little box that's an AI photographer. So you're playing with your kids or you're playing with your pets, and you just set this thing up and you turn it on, and it uses AI to figure out when the quote right moment unquote to take a little 8-second video is, or whatever it is. Sometimes the picture, an 8-second video, and so like its software knows that when a kid is blowing out the candles of a cake, that one, right? Record that. And so basically what it means is that it's kind of it's for the first time, it is a functional robot that's in your house performing a function. which is be a photographer, which for forever and ever and ever was a human task. And it's really interesting, and it's very much in the same. I see it as actually very, very related to the Qoobo, Qoobo, in a lot of ways, because it's this separate device that is kind of performing the action of a live person, and it's replacing the photographer. So it allows you to be candid and to be in your life, immersed in your life, and not have to worry about this other thing.
It's interesting.
So people should check it out.
Yeah. Is that available yet?
It is you can pre-order, but I guess it's not shipping yet. But I mean, it'll be shipping it'll probably be available by the Christmas season, I'm sure. There's not a whole lot to it. So I mean, it's just very, very, very smart. And then what happens is it uploads over Wi-Fi your pictures to your phone, and then you decide which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to delete.
Right.
And it makes little GIFs and stuff. So like it just kind of captures the.
Things are getting interesting. So I love this, of course I love the intersection between the people and the technology, and see where this is all headed, and what we are willing to let into our lives, and what we're willing to let go of, and whether we're willing to change our definitions and mental models. So, Guthrie, before we close here, should we tell people about our latest thing we've been doing?
Yeah, we've been busy at work on a lot of different courses.
So we have, yes, so I just wanted to mention that. And we have updated a bunch of our online courses. We have an updated user experience detailed interaction design course. We have an updated design for engagement online. These are part of our group of online video courses. Of course, we have our wonderful brain and behavioral science online video courses, and that lead to a brain and behavioral science certificate. And our user experience courses can lead, if you want, to a user experience certificate. But we also just decided to take two of our free courses. One is user experience fundamentals, and the other is brain and behavioral science fundamentals. And they've been free and up at our website for their courses.theteamw.com, and they'll still stay there. But we're also putting them on. Go ahead. Unveil. Drum roll. YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're still we're in the process of uploading them as we speak.
There's no reason not to put them on YouTube.
So anyway, that'll just be another place that you can go to
easy to we actually had someone thanks to whoever
two people that recently wrote us,
and they said, hey, do you have closed captions for your videos? And our third party that we use for video hosting, it's just not a feature yet. I'm sure it'll happen in the future. So we were like, we should have this available. And Google, I mean, you want to talk about AI? Holy cow, is Google just all in? They are all in on machine learning and AI, and
they own YouTube.
Yeah, so the
captioning on YouTube.
It is literally as it comes. I did some tests for those who haven't tried it recently. Automatically, as the words come out of your mouth, they show up on the screen. Exactly perfect every time. It is.
That's pretty amazing.
It's really amazing. But it doesn't really surprise me because Google's voice search. So I have Google Assistant on my phone. It has higher voice recognition than humans now. Like, I cannot, you remember when you use voice search and like every other time you'd say, be like,
It was bad,
train to
yeah.
Hoboken. It'd be like, trainer or broken. You know, like it would just kind of mess it up, especially if you're in a noisy environment. I can't remember the last time that it didn't get it perfectly right. Like, it's been like maybe a month, maybe 2 months. Like, I honestly don't remember the last time it was wrong. So, their voice recognition software is really, really good.
Yeah, so if any of you would like to have the closed caption version of our user experience fundamentals or brain and behavioral science fundamentals, they will be up on YouTube shortly.
Yes, share them around.
Guthrie, it's great talking to you.
Yes, indeed. I will talk to you later.
If people need to reach us, they can email us at
info@theteamw.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.